Hi, my name is Pralay and I live in New Delhi, India. I recently watched Source Code, after which I had a few long discussions with some friends as to what the movie really meant, what the premise and the storyline of the movie really was. Well, to me it was reasonably simple and clear, but a lot of the people I spoke to seemed very confused. First, a bit of my background. By education, I'm an engineer from IIT Bombay, which most of you would have heard about. So basically, I do have a background in science and I do read a lot of science fiction. So I thought, let me try to explain source code in terms that would make sense to a wider audience, an audience beyond engineers. So here goes. Before we get to the movie, the first thing that you need to understand is the concept of parallel or alternative timelines. I'm going to try to explain this with a very simple example. Let's take a typically successful IITian. Let's call him Raj. Now Raj, at the age of 16, was in 10th grade and chose to take up science. At the age of 18, he entered IIT to study engineering. At the age of 21, he graduated, he joined Infosys, and by the age of 45, he became the CEO of a company, say XYZ. Now, at some point around this time, Raj figures out a way to go back in time and return to his 10th grade using some sort of time travel device. At this stage, at 10th grade, instead of choosing science, he decides he wants to go into filmmaking. So, at the age of 18, he gets into a filmmaking course. By 21, he's an assistant director, and maybe by the age of 45, he wins an Oscar. Now, and this is very important, just because he chooses filmmaking, it does not erase the previous part, the science stream. That stream still exists. What Raj has done by changing his choice is that he has created a brand new timeline, a timeline that exists in parallel with the first one. Similarly, Raj could have chosen commerce as a field at 16, got a degree in accountancy and become a chartered accountant by the age of 21. And by the age of 45, he could have got arrested for securities fraud. You get the basic idea. Every time Raj makes a new choice, he creates a new timeline that exists in parallel with previous timelines. Now I hope you realize that it is only when you go back and change your choice or deviate from a previous choice that you end up creating a new timeline. The mere existence of choices does not create timelines. You have to actually make the choice. As you probably realize, there is no end to the number of timelines at different points that can be created by Raj by simply exercising a different choice by going back. So that's part 1, the parallel timeline theory. Now let's get to the movie. What we basically see in the original timeline is that a bomb explodes and everybody on the train dies. Let's call this Event A. At some point after Event A, the scientists at Source Code, let's call this Point B, send back Steven into Sean's body 8 minutes before the explosion. Let's call that Point C. Now, I think about 6 times in the movie they show the same loop. Steven in Sean's body goes back, is unable to stop the bomb exploding, the bomb goes off, everybody in the train dies, and the Source Code guys send Steven back. An important point to note is that this loop, the ABCA loop, is a closed loop. Within this loop, there are some differences in events within those 8 minutes on the train, but the start and end points in this are identical each of these 6 times, and they're identical for everyone involved. Everyone on that train basically dies, the bomb goes off, and the timelines converge again at B. The first time there's a deviation from this and we exit the loop is when Christina and Steven exit at the station. The bomb still goes off, but Sean dies in front of a different train and Christina lives on, probably traumatized for a while by Sean's gruesome death. Everyone else on the train dies in the blast. It is important to note that for the source code scientists, events B and E are exactly the same. A bomb has gone off and they continue to send back Steven. That a Christina exists in the second timeline is immaterial. All that would happen is that her name would not be on the dead person's list in the second reality. Now we finally come to the event F, where Steven in Sean's body actually stops the bomb from going off. Everybody on the train lives. Steven and Christina probably get married and have babies or have a fight and break up. It doesn't really matter. In this reality or this timeline, just before event F, Steven sends an email to Goodwin, who receives it after event F. She is confused as she can't explain or understand how she got that email, but seems to have a bit of an idea that it could be the result of a parallel timeline. We then see the last scene of the movie where the head of source code is still waiting for some event to happen so that he can test out the capabilities of his technology. Basically, in this timeline, with the bomb not going off, the source code technology is still a theoretical one. One final thing, from what I could understand, when Steven enters Sean's consciousness, he takes over completely and Sean ceases to exist as a conscious being. Hence, in the final timeline, it is basically Steven who ends up with Christina, but with Sean's body. By the way, in the movie, source code is the way in which time travel is demonstrated. The actual people at source code seem to believe that it gives them only an 8-minute window into the past, and that too just for investigation. Remember, Steven's task is not to stop the first bomb, but to get information to prevent the second bigger attack. The fact that using source code creates alternative realities, alternative timelines, seems beyond the comprehension of the scientists there. Well, that's about it. Hope that makes sense to you. If you want to discuss this further or tell me I'm wrong or have any other explanation in mind, do get in touch. This is my email. See ya.